So we only had this 3-week period where I started to teach them how to trade, and then they were supposed to go to Europe for like 3 months, basically, right? Like February, March, whatever. And they weren't coming back to Mexico. They were going straight home, which at the time was back to West Virginia. So anyone that knows Cassian and knows that he loves the West Virginia song, that's why, because that's where they're from. So he fell in love with that song, and so every time it's played, he goes crazy. And so it's very interesting to me, and one of the things I love the most about our meeting is that we forged this friendship in 3 weeks, strong enough that they actually changed their travel schedule, and they only went to Europe for 5 or 6 weeks or so instead, and they ended up coming back to Porto and staying there with us for the last couple of months of our time there, so that the girls could spend more time together, and so that we could work on Janie, who I didn't even know existed yet at the time. So yeah, feel free to jump in there, Jon, and share your side of that.
Yeah, I think when we left for Europe, I think I had an idea of doing something like Janie, but I don't know that I even mentioned it to you before that.
I mean, we had maybe a very brief conversation where you said something along the lines of like, well, couldn't this be automated maybe? And I was like, well, I don't know. People have said that to me before, but I don't know how. But I don't think at that time that you even said to me that you did know how. Like I didn't know that you, yeah, anyway, I'll let you tell the rest of the story. But yes, you're right. I mean, if we did, I think we did have this very tiny conversation that was kind of to the point of like, oh, like, well, this could be automated or we could automate it, but nothing about actually doing it.
Yeah, I think that's what I remember. And then when we were in Europe, we were dancing through all sorts of time zones. I was watching the clock all strange hours, trying to be on your call. And just like new trader at the time was getting quite frustrated at my own trading journey, and hence Janie was born.
Janie was born in Germany.
That's right, in Berlin.
Awesome. So yeah, so Jon's here with us today so that he can introduce us to Janie. Obviously, we're both very excited about Janie. But Jon is amazing. He's one of the hardest workers that I've ever known in my entire life. And also very good at like segregating his time into like, this is the time I'm working on Janie, and this is the time I'm running my car company, and this is the time I'm with my family. He's very good at like prioritizing and being like present in the moment with whatever he's doing. And I just appreciate him so much. He was here last week with us, but he couldn't attend both retreats. So we have him here on Zoom today. But for the people that were here last week, they got to get to know him and just find out what an amazing guy he is. So I will turn it over to you, Jon.
All right. Can we see my screen there in the room?
Yes.
Perfect. And can everybody on Zoom see the Janie presentation on screen?
Yeah, perfectly.
Perfect. Great. All right. So thanks for that amazing introduction. It's not the first time Teresa has mentioned this concept of me being the hardest working person she knows, which I always get a chuckle out of. Because if you ask me, right, I would say I'm one of the laziest people that I know. And let me tell you what I mean by that. What Teresa didn't know, I think when we left Mexico for our European journey, and I had mentioned automating some parts of her trading strategy, I don't think she knew that I was a computer programmer by education. I probably failed to mention that, Teresa, in the early days. And you know what makes a really good computer programmer? Laziness, right? Because we hate doing anything twice. And for all of you in the room who are new traders, Janie was created out of my frustration because I was doing repetitive tasks, right? Think about all the things that Teresa is teaching you about in your trading journey, and how many of those things are fairly repetitive. And that's really what got me thinking that, hey, there's got to be a better way to do something like this, and hence Janie, the trade helper robot, was born. So what is Janie exactly? So Janie is an MT5 desktop based computer program. Sometimes we call it a robot, right? And what she does is she assists you in trading Teresa's boss candle strategy. Okay, MT5 desktop, for those of you who may be real new to trading, right? Many of you may use MT4 or MT5 on your mobile device. Well, MT5 desktop is just the Windows or Mac based computer version of that software from that same company. For those of you who do know what MT5 desktop is and who may be a little more technically savvy, Janie is an expert advisor, which is the term that MetaTrader uses to describe computer programs that are written to help people trade on the MT5 desktop application. What else is Janie? Janie is custom to the boss candle strategy. As I go through the presentation and tell you more about Janie, you'll understand that Janie is very meaningful to us. And by us, I mean folks who are following Teresa's boss candle strategy. Right? Janie's not that meaningful to other day traders who may trade some other random strategy. Janie is custom to us. Janie was created by me. There is no part of Janie that's relied upon or created by anyone else. And last but not least, Janie is my own best effort at sort of wrapping Teresa up and putting her inside of my computer. Because Janie, part of her genesis story was as a new trader. Again, like many of you in the room, I'm sure, I got frustrated, right? I was able to find, good entries. I'm a fairly quick learner, right? So Teresa taught me, all of her boss candle entries, and I got very good at identifying them. But managing the trade itself, right, is that very emotional roller coaster, right? You enter a trade, and of course you're always, you start off down by the spread, and you see those red numbers, and that just generates all of that emotion that sits right here in the 6 inches between our ears. And that's part of what I really struggled with as a new trader. I kept thinking to myself, right, Jon, just manage this trade. Now that you're in it, just manage it the way you would hear Teresa managing her trades on her call. Sounds easy, right? But it's not. It's very difficult when you're managing your own trade and you get 10 points in profit, right? Sometimes I would close a trade with just 8 points in profit, and I would send you a message, Teresa, say, I won 8 points. I was so excited about it. And Teresa's question back was always the same. She said, well, why did you exit that trade? I never had a good answer because there were no technical exits, right? It was just my emotion that led me to maybe close that trade prematurely. So as you'll see in a minute, Janie is a helper to help us identify entries and then manage the trades as they go. So why is a robot good for something like this? Well, number one, robots or computers never get tired. They never need a bathroom break. They don't get hungry for breakfast, right? All those things that, again, you hear Teresa mention when she trades. She doesn't eat, she doesn't drink, she doesn't get up to go to the bathroom because we don't want to miss something important in the market. And Janie helps us because she's got her eyes open, wide open, all the time, watching for us. Robots never miss calling out an entry. right? I mean, let's face it, trading on the 1 minute time frame is difficult. There's a lot of things to look at all the time. It's quite easy to scan back through candles and you see an obvious entry that had painted 5 candles ago that we missed because we're humans. Janie never miscalculates, right? Again, she's a computer. She's really, really good at math, right? I only have to teach her one time, and then she does it the same way over and over. Let's think about an example of math that we do during the morning for our trading hours, right? One good example would be calculating your lot size, right? I've not been there with you at the retreat, but I bet you've spent some time talking about calculating lot size. And it never gets old, does it? We're calculating, we're doing that same math problem over and over. We do it every day. And sometimes we're humans, we can make mistakes. Janie never miscalculates things. And get this, all right? Now, again, I'm not there in the room with you, but look at me on the screen. Let's open your eyes sort of really wide. And on the count of 3, just give me one hard blink of your eye. 1, 2, 3. Okay, in that period of time that it took you to blink your eye, Janie has the ability to scan and calculate everything about the chart that you've learned this week at the trading retreat, plus everything that Teresa has taught you in your entire trading journey up until now, plus everything that Teresa has yet to teach you. Janie can do all of that in the blink of an eye. And she can do it many, many times. So it's really cool that we have a helper named Janie to help us not miss these things. It's very easy to miss with our eyes as humans. And last but not least, Janie has no emotions. Janie will never close a trade for you when you're 8 points in profit just because she's scared, just because she doesn't want to tell her husband or tell her wife that she lost the trade. She won't have those emotions of fear of loss or greed of gain. She just does what we tell her to do. We talked already about sort of how Janie came about, and I'll encourage you to listen to the podcast if you want the full story. But I think Teresa did a wonderful job introducing, right? She really came about with my own trading journey. Janie was something I created out of desire for myself, right? That I wanted to have to be able to use. Janie came about because I'm sort of sitting in this place where I'm in this overlapping worlds, right? The world of trading, boss handle, and the world of being a computer programmer. And Janie came about because I had access to Teresa, right? Janie would have been very difficult. Teresa, we've never talked about this, but if you and I were just Zoom friends, it would have been super difficult, right, to sort of create Janie, because how many hours did we spend on the patio in Mexico overlooking the marina, at 1 or 2 or 3 a.m. Working on Janie together. So just a lot of things had to come together to create this cool tool. So what does Janie look like, right? We all want to know what in the world is Janie and how does she look? Well, I guess not, but we had to throw this in here. Maybe she looks like Demi Moore, right, from G.I. Jane. And people ask me all the time, why is Janie named Janie? One of the reasons is that, as Teresa will tell all of her students, right, she wants your students to be, just follow the rules, right, not to be what we call a cowboy trader, right? So Janie, in that sense, is very militaristic, right? You think about folks in the army, right? They follow orders. So Janie was sort of born. Her name out of this idea of GI Jane. And Teresa will also tell you that Janie had to be a female because her best rule following traders are usually her ladies and not her guys. Sorry, guys. So what does MT5 look like? Again, I bet many on the call and in the room are real familiar with MT4 or 5 mobile, right, on your phone. I'm sure less of you have used MT5 desktop. And one of the reasons is because if you're just trading without any extra tools, MT5 is kind of bland, right? There's a reason we use TradingView when we trade the boss candle strategy, because MT5 that you're looking at here is sort of plain vanilla, right? Kind of difficult, even difficult just to add EMAs on there. But what Janie does is she adds this overlay of all of this information that helps us trade the boss candle strategy. All right, I'm going to flip back and forth between these two slides again. Here is plain old MT5. And here is MT5 with the Janie overlay. Okay. And I'm sure you see lots of differences, lots of things. Some of it may even look intimidating, which I promise it isn't once you understand Janie a bit better. Everything you see on here, I'm going to talk a little bit more in detail about in the next few slides. So what else does Janie look like, right? So that previous slide, that's what Janie looks like to a user. You know, this is sort of what Janie looks like to me. Janie has over 5,000 lines of computer code that tell her what to do and what to look for. You know, for example, a true shift entry is one of those entries that's sort of hard to spot, right? We know that a true shift is when the TDI shift and EMA shift happen at the same time. Doesn't happen a lot, but when it does, we want to know about it. So this is the type of code that I write so that Janie understands to look for those kinds of things. So what exactly does Janie do? One of the best things I think to understand that Janie does is she has lots of settings that we can tell her how we want her to help us trade the boss candle strategy. And when you see those settings later, I want you to think about them as ways to tell Janie what your personal trading plan is. You know, one of my big takeaways from being in Mexico with everyone last week was how valuable people found the exercise of creating their personal trading plan. What are their personal rules for how they want to trade the market? It's hard to follow rules if you've never really written them down, isn't it? So Janie has all these settings where you tell her exactly, you know, what types of entries you want her to tell you about, what kinds of exits you use in your strategy. Do you trade counter trend or with the trend? Right, there's probably 50 different settings that we can tell Janie about how to help us be a better trader. And you can think of those settings as your personal trading plan. Janie can provide at a glance trend analysis, right? Think about on our call when we switch back and forth between the 1 minute and 5 minute, checking what the trends are. You know, Janie can do all that for us. Real time computes where our stop loss should be. I remember as a new trader, this was very difficult for me in real time, right? To be thinking about where my stop loss would be if I entered a trade right now. Right now, we know we set our stop loss at the fractal plus spread times 2, which sounds easy, right? But again, that 1 minute chart, those candles are moving so fast, it can be difficult to sort of, in your mind, think about where your stop loss will be. Well, don't worry. Janie can do all of that in the blink of an eye. She can also real-time calculate your lot size. So here's another example about why a computer is so good at this. So think about each morning before we trade, when we calculate our lot size for the day. We use how many points as our average stop loss? Somebody in the crowd there, just yell it out. Maybe you're muted. Okay.
30.
I'll pretend I heard 30. That's right. Okay. Why do we use 30 points? We do that because it's an average. Does that mean all of our trades have a 30-point stop loss? Of course not, right? Every trade has its own stop loss. Some could be as small as 10 or 12 points. Some could be 50, 60 points, right? It really depends on how volatile the market is and where your entry is. But we use 30 as an average to calculate our lot size before we start trading. We do that because we're human. We can't do that math quick enough in real time, right? What if I had a 50-point stop loss and I could real time calculate what my lot size should be to make sure that stop loss represents a 2% risk, okay? We can't do that as humans. We're just not fast enough, but Janie can do that for us. Janie can call out our potential entries, the ones that we've told her about that fit your personal trading plan. This is another one of my favorites. Janie can auto draw your fib extensions for you. Right? Think about those few moments right after a trade where you're scrambling to get your fib extension tool on TradingView and trace the candle to get the size, to get the fib so that you can draw your TP levels on your chart. All that takes time, and while you're doing that, you're sort of distracted away from the trade. Well, no worries, Janie does that for you too, because it's repetitive. Remember that comment I made earlier, right? I'm like the laziest person I know, because think about all the things I've shown you so far that Janie does, right? These are all the repetitive things we do in trading. There's no reason for a human to need to do them. Janie can manage your trade and move your stop loss for you. So we've been able to define in computer code sort of what the different exits look like, right? Maybe it's an LC exit, maybe it's a VBC exit or a KC exit, right? I'm sure everyone at the retreat is working on learning their entries and exits this week. Well, Janie knows about those, and you can tell her which ones you would like her to use, and she will manage a trade and close the trade for you based on those rules. She'll even move her trailing stop so that she captures the points for you, right? Again, think about being on our morning call. Think about, being in a buy position and price pushing up, and what do you hear Teresa talking about? Oh, it's time to capture some of those points, she'll say, okay? And if we're trading on, MT5 mobile, right, that sort of means like actually tapping your phone and typing in numbers and moving your stop loss, and that can take a lot of time. Again, Janie can just drag that stop loss right up with the trade to capture those points for you. It's amazing how fast she is. And she exits the trade for you without emotion. Again, remember my story of why I wanted to create Janie to manage those trades, because I was exiting trades. I would go back and audit that and realize there was no technical reason to have exited a trade. So while I may have captured my 8 or 10 points and been really happy with that, that trade may have gone on to push up 20, 40, 60 points in profit. But I didn't get to take part in that because I was either fearful or greedy. My mindset wasn't in the right place to manage that trade to its full execution. But Janie can do that for you. Have you done the exercise where you're going back and sort of logging your trades? I'm asking for the folks there in Mexico. Have you done that yet in your retreat?
No, not yet. No.
Not yet? Okay. So So I won't spill the beans, but one of the important things that Teresa trains us on is going back and sort of auditing the trades that you did take, right? And that's a good way to really capture yourself as maybe you're an over trader, right? If you're going back at the end of the day and auditing your trades and you find 24 trades in a day, that might tell you something about your trading. But Janie logs those for you, right? She makes it very easy to go back and see what trades that she helped you take and how they were managed without the manual need to either write them down or to find them on the chart later on. All right, let's go into a little bit deeper to each one of these. So Janie has inputs that can help define your personal trading plans. So, this is just a screenshot of one small section of Janie's inputs, right? So some of the answers are like true or false. Again, don't be intimidated by the settings. Most of them are just a yes, no question. It's like the very top one there, right? Do you want Janie to help you avoid trading during the London Open? Okay. First, you got to figure out sort of what time that is in your time zone. You got to remember it every day. Or you could just tell Janie, hey, Janie, help me remember when London is and don't let me trade for a few minutes before and after that opens. Okay. Or, maybe, with your life circumstance, that you don't like to trade on Fridays, right? Maybe your kids are home that day. You don't have childcare and they're going to be running around. So your personal trading plan said, you know what, let's not trade on Fridays because I can't give it the time and attention it needs. But then you're always sort of tempted to go back and just enter that one trade, right? If you tell Janie that's your trading plan, then she won't let you trade during those times. There's just a few examples of what I mean by, Janie is a manifestation of your personal trading plan. Janie provides sort of at a glance trend analysis. So see that arrow there pointing to the green letters and numbers. So that's sort of an information panel that Janie puts for you up on the top right of the screen. Again, where MetaTrader would have nothing to help you out. The M1, for example, stands for the 1 minute, and the M5 stands for the 5-minute time frame. And because they are both green, at a glance, I can tell that both the 1 minute and the 5 minute are in an uptrend. That's what that means. If the M1 was red, that would mean the 1 minute is in a downtrend. So really, at a glance, I can tell that there's confluence for a buy here. The green arrow with the little check mark or the green checkbox means that everything is okay for you to trade, right? There's no market situations happening that make your personal trading plan, not available at the moment, right? For example, using my no trade on Fridays example earlier, if it was Friday and we said we didn't want to trade on Friday, that checkbox would be red. All right, next. Janie provides a real-time stop loss preview. Again, I love this because remember I talked about one of the hardest things to do in real time is sort of identify where your stop loss would be and how many points would be in that stop loss. So Janie at all times is helping you by showing you a preview of where your stop loss would be, with the red line for a sell stop loss and the green line down below for a buy stop loss. And it shows you exactly how many points would be in that stop loss if you entered a trade at this exact moment. Right? You can even sort of watch this little video playing out, and you can see how the numbers are changing as price is moving up and down on each tick. So Janie provides that in a real-time manner so that you don't need to worry about calculating in your head what your stop loss would be for an individual trade. Next, real-time lot size calculations, right? Earlier, I mentioned this idea that we calculate our lot size one time in the beginning of our trading session using that average of 30 points in our stop loss. But that's not always the case, right? We do that because we're humans and we can't physically do math that fast. But again, Janie can. So if you take a look at the buy and the sell buttons in the bottom right, which are also Janie features to help you with one click, be able to enter a buy or a sell position. You see the numbers that are on those buttons. Those numbers represent your lot size if you were to make an entry right at this moment. And again, you can see in real time how they are changing based on the stop loss preview, right? The larger my stop loss, right? Maybe the smaller that my lot size can be and still accomplish my risk per trade. Okay, real-time lot sizing is a sort of a game changer for us. Janie helps you to avoid news windows. So what do I mean by news windows? Well, I mean a period of time surrounding a piece of news. So for example, last week in the US, right, we had our CPI or core inflation numbers that were presented. And if you were in a trade during one of those news windows, right, there was a 500 point 1 minute candle that painted during a news window. The odds of your stop loss getting skipped on a 500 point candle, which with the velocity that the market must have moved in that instant, should be a great reminder why the boss candle strategy is a strictly no news trading strategy, right? We are technical analysis traders. We're not trading on news, and it's best for us to stay out of the market during those times of news. Or Janie can help us with that because she knows when the news is, and she will limit us from trading 5 minutes before and 5 minutes after our news is coming out. So it's a great way to not forget news. How many times are we on the call in the morning and we're 20 minutes into trading and somebody says, oh, we forgot to check news, right? You don't have to worry about forgetting to check news anymore. Janie will know when that news is and let you know. Janie will call out potential entries that fit your personal trading plan. So Janie's been trained to know all of the various entries in the boss candle strategy, right? Delos and engulfing candles, right? Morning stars, evening stars, all of these types of entries. And she will let you know by flashing on the screen down where the arrow is that there is a potential entry that you might want to look at. And this example that I'm showing you, right, is a yellow D-low buy, right? So if you look at the candles up there where they're painting, you can see those previous two candles painted a very beautiful yellow D-low, which you could have chosen to enter by hitting the buy button, and Janie would have entered that trade with a lot size of 0.14 in this example, okay? So one of the best things about Janie is not allowing us to miss potential trades. Again, it's so easy on the 1 minute to miss these things, right? It's sometimes very easy to go back and see them on the chart if there are 10 candles ago, but it's much more difficult in real time to catch all of the potential entries. But don't worry, Janie never has to go to the bathroom. She never gets tired, and she's always looking out for you by letting you know when there is a potential entry. All right, next, Janie auto draws that fib extension for you. Again, remember from earlier, right? Imagine those few seconds right after a trade where you're grabbing that fib extension tool and trading view and tracing that candle, getting the high and the low, so that you can draw your TP levels. Well, I hate to tell you, but that's just a math problem. And Janie's really good at math, so she can create those fib lines very quickly. So what you're seeing on the screen, there is 4 arrows that are pointing to 4 dotted yellow lines. Those lines would represent the TP levels for this trade. So the first yellow line would be TP1, second line TP2, etc. The green line you see down there, the dotted green line, is the entry price, right? So that's where the trade was entered. And that red line down below represents the stop loss that Janie is managing for us. Janie manages that trade and that stop loss for you. She's able to move that red line to capture points so fast, right, that we as humans, we would barely be able to pick up our phone and get to the right screen by the time she has the stop loss moved. And again, she will execute exits for you that are part of your trading plan. And she'll do it every time for you, right? How many of you have a personal trading plan and you say something like, I'm going to trade these entries and I'm going to take every LC exit. And then you're in a trade and you see the trade moving. And then you see your LC exit, you catch it, but you still have that little bit of emotion, right? That little bit up here between your ears that says, well, maybe this time is different. Maybe this trade is different. Maybe I won't take that exit this time. And we let that trade run, and you end up with a full stop loss. Because as humans, we let those emotions take over our trading, right? That's why many of you have come to the retreat to talk about your mindset, right? To execute things more like a robot. Well, Janie executes those things for you every time, again, because she does not have those same emotions that we do. Oops. Here's an example of one of those screens where we can tell Janie which types of exits that we want her to take. So again, the answers many times are just true or false. So if my personal trading plan said that I want to take all LC exits, I would set this setting to true. If I wanted to take BBC exits, I could set this one to true. Maybe you're trading a strategy where you use the 3 candles or less exit, then you could turn that to true, right? All the different types of exits are right here, and you just change your settings to let Janie know which ones that you would like her to execute on your behalf. Janie also displays this sort of plethora of information over on the left side of her screen. And again, it can look daunting, but I promise it's not. If I zoom in a little bit, we can see up here data like what your account balance is and what your daily return so far is, right? So one of the settings we tell Janie is what our daily goal is, right? Maybe your daily goal was 3%. And then if you reach that daily goal, Janie will tell you to stop trading. You've reached your goal. Janie will show how many trades you've taken over here in a day, okay? She'll tell you how much profit you need yet to get to that goal. She'll even tell you things like how far price is away from the aqua, right? A plethora of data that we have access to because Janie's able to do all that calculation in the blink of an eye. Now, I would like to say that what I just covered with you, as exciting and as kind of cool as it sounds, is really still just an introduction to Janie. I bet I haven't covered more than 25% of her capability, right? Otherwise, I'd be sitting here talking all day, and you fine folks in Mexico wouldn't get to go to your next thing there at the retreat. let's talk about who Janie is for, right? Janie is for someone who's trading the boss candle strategy. I think you've seen enough from what I've shown you today that if you're just trading some other, some random strategy that you found from some random YouTuber, Janie's not that meaningful, right? Because she's built specifically for us, right? Janie, who's Janie not for? I would say Janie is not for the brand new trader. And Teresa, I'll let you talk about some theory behind this. But Janie is certainly built for someone who understands and who has started to learn manual trading through the boss candle strategy. I wouldn't want to train someone by starting them out using a tool like this. But one thing that we've learned from having some early, beta adopters of Janie, she really is a wonderful educational tool, right? It's very easy for Janie to show you all the things that you've been missing in the market, right? And we've had many of our testers tell us, I feel like I've learned so much about trading from using Janie because I realized how much I had been missing before, which I thought was really, really neat. So that's what I wanted to show you today. It's something I've been really excited to show you all. It's a project that was born out of my personal trading journey, my personal access to Teresa, my technical ability married with the trading education that I've received. I can't wait for you all to see and get to use her for yourself. And if we have some time, I'm sure Teresa and I both will be glad to take any questions.
First of all, thank you so much, Jon, for taking some time out of your day and coming and talking to us. And yes, we still have a little bit of time here. If anyone has any questions for Jon while we have him here, feel free to ask. And anyone on Zoom, feel free to unmute yourself or ask in the chat, and I will moderate that as well.
So before you start to use Janie, how much education or where do you start to get to the point that you can actually use her?
It's not going to be possible to quantify it in like time, but basically you should have gone through some of my material. Like, you're not going to understand her settings unless you know the names of the entries and exits, because in the settings, it's literally going to say TDI entry, TDI shift entry. So if you don't know what a TDI shift entry is, how are you going to know if you want to turn that on or off? So I would say it's not that you need to like already be like a successful trader or a profitable trader. It's more to me that you would need to understand the vocabulary of what I teach.
Oh, perfect.
Yes, she considers, so that's actually one of the best things about Janie, Michelle, is that Janie's actually running on your own actual broker's chart. And so she's using your true price feed and your broker's chart. So you don't have to do any more of that adjusting from one broker to another broker.
Yes, because that's confusing at times as well.
Yeah, it's honestly, to me, it's actually one of the hardest parts of trading is having to adjust between different brokers.
Because when you're looking at Trading View and their numbers are not really relevant at times, it's just you're constantly doing that because they change every day.
Yeah, it is definitely a battle. Tracy, I see you raised your hand. Go ahead.
Hi, I was just wondering, I was out at an appointment and I came on the call late. Will the recording be available to us folks as well, or?
Yes, let me verify with Jon. It is currently recording, so we do have a recording, and then we'll verify at the end if we're going to make it public, or if you want it privately, maybe just message me privately if you'd like the recording.
Yeah, if you could just send it to me Messenger, that would be great. Thank you. I'll message you later. Thanks, Teresa.
Yeah, no problem, Tracy.
Teresa, what platform will we be using for it?
It only works on Desktop MT5. And then I'm just going to repeat the question in the room here too. So is this purely an educational tool? No, I wouldn't call it purely educational. Like, I mean, this is literally going to be managing your live trades for you if you want her to be. Like you could be watching for entries in the morning. You could see an entry that you like. You could enter that trade. Once you enter the trade, she can still be doing everything for you. And you could, for example, leave to go to work, and then she'll just continue to manage that trade for you. Michelle, you're the very first person I've ever seen say MT5 is the best. So if you already like MT5, then you're in luck. Everyone else is like, oh my gosh, MT5. Oh, it's so hard to use.
I finally got Teresa to use MT5.
It only
Yeah.
took 3 years, 4 years. I was like anti-MT5.
Quick question: how much has Janie improved the trading, like in percentage, like an average trainer of the boss candle strategy, like
So
50?
I mean, I would love to be able to quantify that for you, and maybe at some point we will be, but we only have 1 month of beta testers that have been using Janie in September. And so that's definitely not enough data to even possibly pull like any sort of real numbers. And the thing you need to remember is that you're still the one choosing the entries, right? So hopefully, like, I mean, Janie pulls a lot of data from every person that's using her trades, and we'll be able to collect that data and compile a log and hopefully be able to get statistically relevant answers. But the thing that's never really going to change is that people still have to be choosing the best entries, right? Janie's going to flash up and tell you every potential entry that she sees based on the candle pattern. You still need to discern what entries you're going to take based on like where things are in the PI or what the EMAs are and all this stuff. Now she tries to help you. So if you try to take a trade and prices crashing right into the EMA, so if you press buy, she's going to spit back to you and say buy aborted, EMA is crashing. And she won't let you take that shitty trade that you tried to take. So she'll try to help you. But I honestly, I mean, Jon, you can touch on this more if you want, but I don't really think there's ever gonna, I mean, maybe one day there will be an answer, but every person is so different. And even in Janie, there's 5 different trailing stop loss modes that people could use. And then they can adjust all of her settings to be different based on their own trading plan. So it'll be very hard to ever give an answer like that, I think.
Yeah, and it's not an answer I would ever want to give, because let's talk about what Janie is and what Janie is not, right? Janie is a helper to help you execute what you're already doing, right? Janie is not, none of us are presenting Janie as some magic money machine, right? As Teresa pointed out, you're still the trader. So it's still up to you to be the expert, right? This doesn't sort of take us out of the equation, right? It is still up to us. And Teresa, I think your last point was spot on with the number of settings that Janie has, right? I've never done the math, but how many of you have already heard this story, right? If you had a deck of 52 cards, right, and you shuffle that deck, statistically speaking, you are probably the first human to ever shuffle the deck in that exact order ever in the history of the world, because of the math around how many different possibilities of shuffling a deck there is. So the analogy I give there is, depending on your personal trading plan and the settings that you told Janie to help you execute, it's quite possible you'll be the only person using those exact settings. So it really is not a question that I'm interested in sort of entertaining as, hey, this will make me a 70% better trader or increase my results by 70%. What we can say is it will make you a more aware trader, right? You will easily be able to execute your trading plan better than if you were just managing these things on your own.
Okay, so Kirsty asked in the chat about internet. So, yes, internet is going to be important for sure. So MT5, you're going to need a solid internet connection. And I mean, there's some technical stuff involved here that I won't get into too much, but basically what I'll say is there's something called a VPS that you can use to help you if you don't have reliable enough internet. But people can reach out to me once they're using Janie, if they decide they want her, and we can help you get set up with that.
So as you go along, Teresa, I guess you're going to keep trading like under live and stuff. Like, will you'll be using Janie and kind of helping people along with that as well?
Yeah, so I mean, I think as most people probably know, I'm going to be starting my own thing separate from IM, and so part of the course and the content that I'm building out will include like recorded trainings, like a course on how to use Janie. And then aside from that, also, yes, on our live calls, there'll also be opportunities on live calls to see how Janie works and to use Janie together as a group.
Awesome. Thank you.
Any questions for you guys? Okay, so the question in the room here is what's the cost of Janie? So right now we're still in beta. So the people that had Janie for September, they were beta customers. And the next round of people that have access to Janie will be our next group of beta testers. And those will only be people that are here at the retreat in Mexico. Our targeted price is $597 US as like an onboarding setup fee for Janie, and then it'll move to a monthly subscription amount, and our targeting price for that is $97. People that are here at the retreat, you'll have access to Janie if you want. She'll be $397 US for you guys, and there won't be a monthly subscription until we're out of beta. So basically, it's kind of in exchange for being willing to like talk back to us and tell us like, oh, I think this was an error, or I wish you did this, or this sorts of thing. We have meetings with Jon every once in a while where the Janie beta customers come on and they chat with him about their experience and give us feedback and stuff like that until we are kind of done with beta testing and moving on to just public customer facing.
So how long will it be beta testing?
That's probably more on Jon's side of the things. I mean, I think that we've been targeting, hopefully maybe to be customer facing, publicly available for November. But coding, I mean, maybe Jon can speak more to this than me, but coding is it's an up and down thing. Sometimes we'll make changes that we want to make, and maybe it actually makes things worse instead of better. And so then we've got to go back and change that coding again or go back to what it was. So, I mean, for me, I knew nothing about coding. I mean, I have had a few people over the years say to me like, oh, Teresa, like you should code this, or you should build a robot. And I was like, yeah, okay, because I know how to do that. Like, it makes it sound like so easy or something, right? So Jon, I'm not sure if you want to speak to that at all. If you kind of have any feelings on when you think public facing.
Yeah, it's an unanswerable question, right? Because it depends on our feedback from our testers, right? That's why we're inviting others to be part of that, right? Do I expect, that our testers are going to find or blow up Janie? I don't, because we've tested her for quite a bit already. But we'll continue to develop Janie until she goes out of beta. Whether that is a couple of weeks or a couple of months, really sort of depends on the feedback that we get from those beta customers and the types of things we choose to act on. But Janie will be something that's constantly updated, right? Just like your phone gets constant updates, or your apps on your phone, as the programmers add new functions and new features. Part of the subscription model of Janie means that you'll get access to all the new features and things. There's never any sort of upgrades or things like that or new versions that are not included.
So the next group of beta testers will be people that are here at the retreat in Mexico, Franny. And so then the next group of beta testers after that would be people that are on this call, sort of like people that are kind of directly like within my current organization, currently follow me. When if we need another round of beta testers, then that's where those people will come from, or it'll just become publicly available. So the people that are here at the retreat, this retreat ends on October 20th. So to have another 4 weeks of beta testing with them will bring us to like November 20th-ish, like 4 weeks of beta testing. And then from there, we'll have a better idea of if we need another group of new beta testers to put through, or if we're more ready to just be public facing.
Sounds great.
Any other questions from you guys here? Yeah, okay, so for training for using her, so we've got a bunch of different things. So over the time that we've had beta customers, every time that those beta customers have questions, then I've been either doing screen recordings or screenshots and then answering those questions. And then we have a Google Drive that all the people that are Janie customers have access to. And so then all those videos are being logged in there. And then we also have something called Jump Share, where when somebody feels like they found an error, they record or take a screenshot and they send it into this team Jump Share folder. And then all of these are all in there. And so then all of this information is coming back to us and allowing us to compile so that we have, like currently one of the things I'm working on is an onboarding manual. And then also videos. So yes, like there's videos of like how to install her, how to change her settings, all of this kind of stuff. Yeah, is all included. And then also, so some of you probably know this, like every day we're on my live trading call. And then at the end of that call, I'm like, okay, guys, I got to go and jump onto another call. Well, that call is the group of people that are Janie beta customers. And so then we're on there answering their questions and taking their suggestions. Like, I can't remember what day now, John, maybe Sunday morning, I think we had a call with the Janie beta customers. And so John came on a call and chatted with all the people that come on and talked to them one-on-one and got the feedback from them on what they would like to see changed or what they like or what they think is like, sometimes there's errors, like actual, like, oh, like it should be doing this, but actually it's not. And so the only way that John and I know this is by having more people watching her. There's just not possibly enough hours in the day for us to watch her to see all the possible stuff that she could do. But yes, there's training included for sure.
An example that came out of that Sunday morning call, right? Our beta customers were telling us, right, we love the potential entries flashing up, but maybe Janie could make a little sound to kind of catch our attention when that happens. And I thought, wow, what a great idea. Teresa, that one's already done. That'll be in the next version, right? So yeah, by being in that beta group, folks sort of have a little more of a voice into some of those early features that Janie has that we won't be able to give that amount of time to everybody as they come in. So this is a cool group. I really appreciate if there's anybody on the call that's already in that group. I really appreciate the time and effort that you put into that because yeah, I think it's such an awesome tool. It represents, again, thousands of lines of computer code, hundreds, probably thousands of my hours. I've never really calculated, but probably thousands of hours of coding. And again, I hope you all find it as useful as I expect you will.
Well, thank you for your effort for that.
Teresa, do you want to talk a little bit about, folks have, questions to sort of come to you. Teresa is sort of the front end, for me to answer direct questions. Sometimes it takes my time away from the coding part. So not that I ever don't want to talk to any of you, but if you sort of forward all of your feedback and questions through Teresa, then by the time it gets to me to work on, we've already talked it through and we know what we want to do. So Teresa is definitely your main point of contact for most Janie things.
Basics. my God.
Patricia, I think you asked me this earlier, but to reconfirm, he's in Canada and I'm in Costa Rica. We can still work on the one Janie account together, even though we're in geographic areas.
John and I will have to have a little bit of a further discussion of what we're gonna do with couples, but I don't know, is it because he knows the coding, not me. If I was coding this, like, nothing would happen. So, but I think my vision, and let me double check with him, is that couples, I don't want couples to necessarily have to pay twice or own the product twice. And I'm not sure, John, if you can answer their question that quickly, like if they're on MT5 on two different computers and they're husband and wife, and one's in Canada and one's in Mexico, as long as that Janie and that licensed CPT is logged into two different accounts, right? Two different trading accounts, that should be fine.
Yeah, we'll have to look at the details. I mean, if they were logged into two separate trading accounts, you know, Janie would completely look at them as by default separate customers, right? It's what you're saying is just that by an act of a church or legal, we've created a married couple. Janie doesn't know about that in code. We'd have to make some. We'd have to talk about how we would handle that. But no, by default, Janie would see a computer connected to a trading account as an individual license at the moment.
Right, okay, yeah, so we'll work on that and get back to you. Let me just scan the chat here. Yeah, that's possible too. Interesting idea, Ron. Okay, so I can't remember what I was just about to chat about before your question. What were we talking about? I don't remember. But oh yeah, I remember. Okay, so basically that was John's really delicate, very polite, friendly way of him saying to reach out to me, but I'll just say it a little bit more bluntly. Don't private message John. Okay, we want him working on what is better for like the whole group and the whole vision. Okay, so if you have questions and stuff, just come through to me. And there's also a bunch of other things that we've been doing. So if you remember when you were in kindergarten or grade 1 and you had like a reading buddy from like maybe grade 5 and you guys would partner off. Okay, so we made Janie buddies. For people that are new Janie customers, we partner them with somebody that's been working on Janie with us for a longer period of time. And then you get your own little Janie buddy, because I also can't possibly answer questions all day from that many people. But we also have a Facebook group and a Facebook chat group, and then we go out and we do these Zooms together on a daily basis, et cetera, et cetera. So there's definitely lots of support. But yes, basically we're just asking for John he basically will not be customer facing except for times where we bring him onto Zooms or when you need him in environments like this or whatever, and then you'll get to know him.
Somebody asked about seeing Janie in action. Teresa, I don't know if you still have that link I sent you. You can maybe share it on another Zoom where I did just do some screen recording as Janie was helping me manage a trade last week. I've got to pop off here in just a few minutes. I think it's like a 10-minute video, but we'll certainly find a time where we can watch that. And plus, I think Teresa is planning on starting to use Janie somewhat on her calls, so you'll probably get to see it there a little bit as well.
Yeah, we'll start showing her on the call sometimes, and then I'll be creating some, I guess what you call it, marketing commercials and this and that. And in those videos and stuff, it'll have live action shots of what Janie looks like when she's running. So you also start to see some of those as well. Okay, awesome. Well, we'll let John go because he's got to get on with his day. And we also here in Mexico need to get on to our next activity as well. So for all of you that jumped on Zoom, thank you for joining us, and feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions. And yeah, thanks so much, John, again for being here and for everything that you do for our whole community.
Thanks, everyone. It's been exciting to work on this. Right, I remember Teresa's face when I showed her the first version. Right, her jaw was kind of halfway down to the floor. And at that moment, I knew we had something if she was that excited about it. So glad we get to share it with you all now.
Yeah, also, this has been the hardest secret that we've ever had to keep, or me anyways. I don't know about John. You're already naturally a more reserved, kind of stick to yourself person. But like, I had to not talk about Janie for like a lot of months in a row. It was super hard. So now we can talk about her. All right, awesome.
Thank you,
Thanks
everyone.
everyone for jumping on. We'll talk to you guys soon. Thanks, John.